It was the kind of Saturday morning that made the whole neighborhood feel like a postcard. Lawns were trimmed to perfection, dogs strolled politely beside their owners, and the sun gleamed off the polished mailboxes like the universe had personally approved the HOA's bylaws. Crescent Oaks was a gated community that prided itself on appearances. The kind of place where Amazon packages disappeared into homes within minutes, and neighbors waved but didn't really talk. And at the top of it all stood one woman, Karen Bloomfield, HOA president, part-time realtor, and full-time menace. Karen had the look down to a science: helmet blonde bob, pastel polo shirt tucked into white capris, and a laminated HOA rulebook sticking halfway out of her Michael Kors tote like a badge of honor. She walked the neighborhood every morning at precisely 8:01 a.m., like a one-woman security patrol, sipping lukewarm coffee and peering over fences to check for code violations. People joked that Karen didn't own a clock. She was the clock. Meanwhile, 2 blocks over, Maya Thomas, a local elementary school counselor and longtime resident, was prepping her home for a special guest. Maya was known for her calm energy, big laugh, and banana bread that could silence any toddler tantrum. Her husband Marcus, a recently retired cop, was out running errands, leaving Maya to put finishing touches on the backyard setup. Today wasn't just any Saturday. Darius Cole, their family friend of 20 years, was stopping by for a visit. And not just any visit. Darius had just been appointed chief of police, and this was his first weekend off in months. Maya smiled as she set out cold drinks and a bowl of cherries on the patio table. She'd known Darius since his rookie days on the force, long before the press conferences and the polished shoes. He was like a brother to her. She also knew he liked his peace and quiet, and this neighborhood, for all its drama, usually offered that. Usually. At exactly 2:12 p.m., Darius's black SUV rolled slowly through the community gates, waved in by the guard who'd been tipped off in advance. He parked just a few houses down from Maya's, shaded beneath a wide oak tree. Stepping out, Darius adjusted his crisp button-down shirt and checked his phone. That was when she saw him. Karen. From her front window, where she'd been cataloging a neighbor's unauthorized garden gnome, Karen spotted the tall, dark-skinned man walking calmly down the sidewalk. He didn't look like he belonged here, she decided. No clipboard, no delivery uniform, and definitely not wearing HOA-approved colors. She squinted, set her mug down, and muttered, "Not today." Outside, Darius paused at the walkway, glancing around for Maya's house number. He had just pulled out his phone to text her when a shrill voice called out behind him. "Excuse me, hello?" He turned, eyebrows raised. Karen stood with her hands on her hips, lips pursed so tightly they nearly vanished into her face. "Can I help you with something?" she asked, emphasizing the you. Darius blinked. "I'm good, thanks. Just heading to a friend's house." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Which house, exactly?" He gave a polite smile. "Number 218, Maya Thomas." Karen stiffened. "Maya doesn't have visitors park on the street. That's a violation." Darius chuckled softly. "Didn't know I needed a valet." Karen's jaw tightened. She stepped forward like a prosecutor preparing for cross-examination. "I've never seen you here before. Are you sure you're in the right neighborhood?" Before Darius could answer, Karen pulled out her phone and began recording. "This is a private community," she announced to her camera. "I'm documenting a suspicious person loitering near homes. If anything happens, there's a record." Darius blinked again. "You're recording me?" She held the phone higher. "For the safety of our residents, you need to leave the premises immediately." Just then, Maya came out of her front door waving. "Darius!" she called. Karen turned around in surprise. "Oh, thank God," Maya muttered as she approached. "Karen, what are you doing?" Karen lowered her phone, but not without suspicion. "This man was loitering near your home. I was just ensuring everything was safe." Maya crossed her arms. "Karen, this is Chief Darius Cole, as in the new chief of police, and he's here for lemonade and banana bread." Karen's face twitched. Darius gave a small wave. "Nice to meet you, Ms. HOO." Karen opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. "Oh, well, that's lovely. We like law enforcement around here." Darius smirked. "I can tell." Karen muttered something unintelligible and stormed off, her phone still rolling. Back on the porch, Maya and Darius sat down and burst into laughter. "I knew she'd Karen someone eventually," Maya said between gasps. I just didn't think it'd be you. Darius sipped his lemonade. I've been profiled before, but this might be the first time someone tried to citizen's arrest the chief of police. From that moment on, the peaceful surface of Crescent Oaks began to crack. The video Karen had recorded, complete with her shouting, "You don't belong here," ended up online thanks to a neighbor's teenage daughter. The clip, paired with the reveal that the suspicious man was the new police chief, went viral in a matter of hours. Comments poured in, memes exploded. Karen's face was suddenly everywhere, and the internet had questions. So did the city, and soon so did the State Department of Housing, which had received several previous complaints about HOA discrimination in Crescent Oaks. Ones Karen had quietly buried. What began as one woman's attempt to protect her neighborhood would soon unravel everything she'd built and expose secrets she didn't think anyone would ever find. Because the thing about karma is, it doesn't care how big your tote bag is. By Sunday morning, Karen was trending, not on Pinterest for her seasonal door wreaths, not on Facebook for her lukewarm HOA updates. No, Karen Bloomfield was internet infamous. Suspicious Sandwich Lady, Permit Patty 2.0, and the HOA Queen of Nope were just a few of the names she'd earned in less than 24 hours. At first, Karen didn't believe it. People post things online all the time, she told her husband that morning over gluten-free pancakes. It'll blow over by Monday, except it didn't, because the video was everywhere. And it wasn't just hers. Neighbors had uploaded their own clips from their doorbell cameras and phones. One angle showed her jabbing her finger at Darius's chest. Another had a close-up of her muttering, "Probably doesn't even live here," under her breath. The icing on the humiliation cake? Someone had slowed it all down, set it to dramatic piano music, and added subtitles like Karen versus the Chief. That version had over 2 million views. Karen's phone wouldn't stop buzzing, not with support, but with complaints, screenshots, memes, and worse, emails from HOA members calling for an emergency vote on her leadership. But Karen wasn't about to go down without a fight. She doubled her patrols. She started carrying a body cam for legal protection. She wrote a 10-page email about community safety and how she was simply following protocol. She printed out fake flyers warning about unauthorized guests and stapled them to neighborhood trees like she was starring in her own low-budget spy movie. She even showed up at Maya's house 2 days later, holding a clipboard and a forced smile. "I'm here to conduct a home inspection," she announced. Maya blinked. "For what?" Karen cleared her throat. "There have been reports of excessive lawn ornamentation and potential zoning violations." "You're joking." "Not at all. We take neighborhood integrity very seriously." "You mean you take it personally?" Maya snapped, stepping aside just enough to let Karen see the tall man seated comfortably in her backyard again, sipping sweet tea. Darius gave a wave. "Miss me?" Karen's nostrils flared. She pivoted and walked away so fast her clipboard flew out of her tote and landed in a pile of birdseed. Later that week, during the monthly HOA meeting, everything unraveled further. Residents came in droves, some with printed memes, others with grievances they'd kept quiet for years. One retired veteran stood up and said, "Karen fined me $50 for having a flag too tall on the 4th of July. A single mom added, "She told me my welcome mat was too aggressively colorful." And then a teenager played the remix of Karen's viral video, this time with a dubstep drop. Karen tried to hold her ground. "I am enforcing rules meant to protect this community." Necrononom. But her voice was drowned out by murmurs, laughter, and the unmistakable sound of someone whispering, "She's cracking." Then came the bombshell. A local journalist, who had caught wind of the HOA Karen scandal, published an expose. It detailed how Crescent Oaks had repeatedly fined minority homeowners for minor violations at 3 times the rate of others. The report included leaked emails from Karen using terms like "those types" and "high-risk profiles" in reference to certain residents. It wasn't just a bad look. It was a legal disaster waiting to happen. City officials launched an investigation. Darius, though not directly involved, became an unofficial advisor to the inquiry. And boy, did that sting Karen more than anything else. Her worst fear had come true. The man she thought she could intimidate now had the power to audit her. And it wasn't just about reputation anymore. Her emails, fines, notes, surveillance practices, All were being reviewed for discrimination and abuse of power. In a last-ditch attempt to save face, Karen threw a neighborhood unity brunch. She hired a mariachi band. She served diversity donuts. She printed T-shirts that said, "Let's all be neighbors." It was a PR disaster. No one came, except Maya and Darius, and a few people who showed up just to watch the train wreck. Karen tried to smile through it all. She handed Darius a coffee and said, "No hard feelings, right?" He took it, sipped it, then calmly asked, "This decaf?" Karen blinked. Uh, yes? He dumped it into a nearby plant. "Exactly how I feel about fake apologies." She gawked. "Excuse me?" But he'd already walked away. Later that night, Karen sat alone in her living room, watching her phone blow up with angry texts and HOA petitions. She never heard her husband mutter from the hallway, "Maybe you should just apologize." She didn't even notice the city-issued envelope on the kitchen counter marked HOA Violation Review Panel, mandatory appearance. What Karen didn't realize, what she never thought would happen, was that the very structure she'd used to control others was about to collapse around her. Because karma doesn't need a megaphone. It just waits and hits where it hurts most. The hearing was set for Friday morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Karen stood in front of the HOA review panel in her best "I'm innocent but fashionable" blazer, clutching a stack of documents she had color-coded, laminated, and triple hole-punched. Her expression was tight, determined. She still believed she could talk her way out of this mess. She always had before. The meeting took place at the City Hall Annex, a building usually reserved for local zoning boards and tax appeals. But today, it might as well have been the Supreme Court. There were cameras, reporters, even protesters holding handmade signs. "Karen, you see what you've done? HOA harass our allies? Chief Darius for mayor." Inside, the panel sat stoically behind a long oak table. Maya was there. So was Darius, invited to speak as a character witness and community advisor. His calm presence in a navy blue suit made Karen visibly uncomfortable. She cleared her throat dramatically. "Good morning. I would like to begin by saying this entire situation has been blown wildly out of proportion." One of the panelists, a woman in glasses named Felicia Alvarez, raised an eyebrow. "You're referring to the multiple video recordings of you profiling a black man?" Karen smiled tightly. "I was simply following community safety protocols." Felicia deadpanned. "You mean recording the chief of police on your phone and accusing him of being a threat?" Karen's smile twitched. "In my defense, he wasn't wearing a uniform." Darius spoke then, his voice calm and firm. "So civilians need uniforms now to not be harassed in their own neighborhoods?" Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. That moment became the headline clip. "Chief of Police shuts down HOA president in discrimination hearing." The meeting dragged on, with testimony after testimony from neighbors. Some came in person, others submitted video evidence. All told the same story. Karen had weaponized her position for years, singling out residents for petty infractions, many of whom were people of color, single mothers, or simply not part of her country club social circle. There was the family fine for having chalk drawings on their driveway. The elderly black couple written up for noise violations when they had gospel music playing during Sunday dinner. The Vietnamese family told to trim their un-American bonsai. The panel grew visibly disgusted. Karen tried to play the victim. She brought up cancel culture, claimed misunderstandings, and even teared up when describing the pressure of leadership. That's when Darius stood, and everything changed. He walked slowly to the front, pulled a single sheet of paper from his folder, and addressed the room. "My name is Chief Darius Cole. I've served this city for over 20 years. I've been shot at, I've buried partners, and I've led rescue operations during 2 hurricanes. I love this community, but what happened to me in Crescent Oaks wasn't just about me. It's about what too many people of color experience every day." He paused, looked directly at Karen. "And this petty abuse of authority, this neighborhood watch gone wild, it's not just annoying, it's dangerous." The room was silent. Darius continued. "I wasn't humiliated. I've been through worse. But others, they get arrested, hurt, killed, all because someone felt uncomfortable. I could laugh it off. But what if I were 17, in a hoodie, reaching for my phone instead of my badge? Several people nodded. Karen stared down at her papers. Darius turned to the panel. I'm not here to ruin anyone's life. I'm here to make sure this never happens again. That we stop giving authority to the loudest voice instead of the most just. Thunderous applause erupted. The panel thanked him, recessed briefly, then returned with a verdict. Karen Bloomfield was officially stripped of her position as HOA president. Furthermore, she was barred from holding any leadership role in Crescent Oaks for 5 years. A city audit would be conducted into HOA practices, and all residents would receive a survey and hotline to report further bias or harassment. Karen looked like someone had just pulled her plug. She stood frozen as the cameras zoomed in. Her fall from power was instant, viral, and brutal. The next day, the clip of her removal was broadcast on local news. A remix of her stuttering response hit TikTok, with users lip-syncing. I, I, I was just trying to protect, the standards. Wait, what is happening? Teenagers in the neighborhood printed out memes and posted them on community boards. Her name trended again, but now under hashtags like "in Karen down," "Jurich Cho humbled," and "shoulda left him alone." But the story wasn't over. A week later, the city appointed Darius as the official HOA oversight liaison, responsible for monitoring neighborhood boards across the region. Maya hosted a block party in his honor. Everyone showed up, even some folks who had never dared to before. Music played, kids chalked the sidewalks, people laughed freely, and in the distance, Karen peeked through her window blinds, sipping boxed wine and silently watching her orderly community evolve without her. Her reign was over. The neighborhood had changed, and poetic justice had never tasted so sweet. 3 months later, Crescent Oaks was practically unrecognizable, in the best possible way. The new HOA board, led by Maya and a diverse group of residents, had rewritten the community guidelines. Gone were the petty fines and vague language about aesthetic harmony. Instead, the focus shifted to community building, fairness, and transparency. Darius, now the official HOA oversight liaison for the city, had made Crescent Oaks his pilot project. And it worked. Neighbors who had never spoken before were now sharing potlucks, trading tools, and helping each other with yard work. People smiled more. Kids played freely. The whole place felt human again. But what about Karen? Well, Karen still lived on Sycamore Lane, in the beige house with the extra firm hedges and the motion-activated sprinklers. But she'd become somewhat of a ghost. Her once daily patrols had vanished. Her emails to the board went unanswered. Her infamous body cam now gathered dust in a drawer next to expired coupons and unsent complaint letters. Rumor had it she tried to attend the next HOA meeting in disguise, wearing a giant sun hat and dark glasses. But someone recognized her voice when she whispered, "Technically, dogs over 30 pounds aren't allowed." The whole room had burst into laughter. Darius didn't speak to her again after the hearing, though he did get a handwritten letter from her 2 weeks later. It read, "To Chief Cole, I may have overstepped. I was only trying to maintain order. I didn't mean for things to go this far. Apologies if you felt disrespected. Sincerely, Karen Bloomfield." He folded it once, slid it into a drawer, and never replied. But one Saturday morning, Maya knocked on his door holding a tray of banana muffins and said, "You know what would be fun? Hosting a welcome day for new residents." So they did. The event was held on the same street where Karen had once interrogated him. But this time, Darius stood beside a bounce house, flipping burgers in a "Yes, I belong here" apron, while a jazz band played in the driveway next door. People laughed when they saw the apron. Some even asked where to buy one. Midway through the afternoon, a new family pulled up, a young interracial couple with 2 kids and a rescue dog. Karen, watching from her living room window, shook her head and muttered, "There goes the neighborhood." Her husband, sipping coffee next to her, replied, "No, Karen, it just arrived." Out on the sidewalk, Darius greeted the newcomers with a smile, handed their kids popsicles, and pointed them toward the community tent where Maya was handing out free lawn gnome figurines, one of which looked suspiciously like Karen with a tiny clipboard. Everyone loved it. And while no one really talked about the Karen era anymore, they remembered, not with bitterness, but as a turning point. Proof that things could change, that someone could stand up, calmly and powerfully, and say, enough. In the end, it wasn't just about Darius. It was about a neighborhood waking up, and a woman who learned, too late, that control is not the same as respect. Because power doesn't come from pointing fingers. It comes from lifting people up. And karma comes with a badge, a smile, and the kind of patience that waits until you film your own downfall.